I have a question. Is Fallout the best video game adaptation we have ever had? Welcome back, everyone. We're here to talk about The Demon in the Snow, which is episode 4 of season 2 of Fallout. I just watched it. I'm actually getting here early to talk about it for once. Before we get into it, I want to know, so far in this series, who is your favorite main character right now? I'm talking Fallout Season 2, Episode 4. Who are you the most excited to see their story continue? Let me know down in the comments. Fallout is just so good, and something that I feel that it captures that a lot of other projects have missed the mark on when it comes to video game adaptations, especially in recent times. Until Dawn, Borderlands, I'm looking at you. Is that it is a show that embodies the idea of what the world feels like. We're not just talking about establishing the lore and giving us cool characters and putting in references like items, props in the scene that you're like, I know what that is, or places that you've been. No. We're talking about a game that is a show, and they are almost one for one. Obviously, these characters are not exactly always from the games, although the ghoul did just come to Fallout 76, which I think is pretty cool in recent times. However, what I'm talking about is I am just talking about the feeling that you get playing Fallout is very similar to the feeling that you get watching this show. It is one of the rare occasions where I can say, you know, if you like the show, you'll probably like the game. And you can't say that about all video game adaptations, even really amazing ones, like Arcane, for example. That's a show where I have a lot of friends that watched Arcane that loved it, that know that I have played League in the past, and have asked me, hey Amanda, that League of Legends game, I love Arcane. Should I play? I feel like I should play now. And I'm like, not necessarily. If you loved Arcane, it does not mean you will like League of Legends. Those are very different vibes. But when it comes to Fallout, the vibes are just a perfect match. The other thing I want to talk about in this episode, obviously, if you are familiar with Fallout, if you've seen any of the little snippets of scenes that they've shown, then you know what you're getting into. Also, the title of this episode, The Demon in the Snow. This is our Deathclaw episode, or at least one of our Deathclaw episodes. Based on where this episode leaves off, there might be a few Deathclaw episodes this season. I think the way that the Deathclaw is done in this episode is a perfect example of something that I really love about this season and this show overall. And as someone who has watched and loves Stranger Things, who recently finished the series finale of that show, wearing some Stranger Things. Where is he? There he is. There's my boy Eddie Munson. As someone that loves Stranger Things, I couldn't help but compare some of the visuals in this show to the visuals we got in the series finale of Stranger Things. In Stranger Things, there are moments where it feels like all this, everything around, is just a green screen. It's just people walking on a green screen. And you can tell it's not particularly well blended. It's not particularly well edited. It's unfortunate because I do love the show and think that they've done some great things with effects in Stranger Things. But with Fallout, I never feel that way. I feel fully immersed the whole time. And that is because they're using sets well. They're cutting this show so well. And when they do special effects that are computer generated, those effects are captured in a way that just boosts the quality of them. And that's not to say that everything in Stranger Things looked bad or anything like that. I'm just saying it's the way that it's shot and cut together that allows us to really immerse ourselves in the wasteland here. Can I just also say the fact that Fallout looks so good and costs, I believe, less than half. I believe season 2, the estimated budget for it is less than half of what it cost for Stranger Things season 5 is insane to me. Like, Stranger Things, you know, I guess they got to pay for that makeup budget for Vecna, but then for most of this season, we were seeing Henry anyways. I mean, Vecna does look great, don't get me wrong, but it's like, they were like, well, you know, we can't have him as Vecna all the time because we gotta save that $400 million budget We don't have the budget for that. Meanwhile, Fallout, every element of it looks amazing. So the money was just more smartly used, I guess. Or it could be because Stranger Things maybe had a bunch of reshoots and Fallout is maybe just, in terms of production, better planned out. Which, based on the two story comparisons, I could see that being a thing. There are oftentimes still some sets, or at least partial sets, to keep us grounded in the world. There's real things, and that also helps your performers. And I also just want to talk about how amazing all of the performers are in Fallout in this episode and beyond. The fact that, we had Kumail Nanjiani, who, rest in peace, Xander, he's gone now. The fact that he was here even just for like that little bit, I think is a testament to just how great this show is. And the fact that performers that are, I think, really gifted are attracted to doing this show, that they want to audition, they want to be a part of it. And I think my highlight for this season, and I talked about this back in episode 1, is definitely Aaron Moten. I think that he is just doing such a great job in this show with Maximus, and Maximus is really, his story is really heating up this season. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think that Maximus has the best plot line that we're going to be following. And I never know what's going to happen in this show, which is something I love about it. I have ideas, I have theories. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong, but I'm always riveted because I always want to see what happens next. And that is how we know that the storytelling is good and that everything feels grounded and authentic, where these characters are people that actually have to react to things happening around them, which has been Max's journey so far this season. My goodness. He's just, wrenches keep being thrown at him and he keeps having to figure out, now what? Now how do I handle this? What do I do? And it's interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine last night who made a cool observation that once it was brought up, I couldn't unsee it. And it has to do with the trajectories of all of our major characters this season. Lucy, Maximus, the Ghoul, and that is that Maximus, while last season was kind of, he was coming from a place where he was on a path that wasn't necessarily the most morally sound. And he, I think, is now realizing what it means to be a part of his chapter of the Brotherhood and questioning some of the morals that he's been given by them and questioning what is right and wrong and is finding his own moral compass to guide him. And in fact, I would argue that although things are chaotic for him right now, he is making all the right choices. Whereas Lucy is kind of on a different trajectory. Like Lucy is coming down and Maximus is going up, and they're interjecting in this really cool way. And I hope we actually do get to see them come together again like we did in season 1, because I'm curious how different their next interaction might be based on where these two characters are at. Lucy, on the other hand, she is kind of making, I think, a lot of the wrong decisions. She still has good intentions at heart, but I think that her quest has set her on a journey that is mostly self-serving. What she says she's doing, and as she says to NCR in this episode, is that she is, trying to catch up with, well, I mean, she doesn't say it's her dad, but we know it's her dad Hank, and is trying to apprehend him for justice. She wants to hold him accountable for his actions. Now, is this justice for justice sake, because it is something Lucy believes in? Or is it somewhat a self-serving motive because Lucy hasn't taken the time to process what has happened to her and the revelations of her entire life kind of being a bit of a sham? Her dad has lied to her this entire time, and now she automatically goes on this quest to go after him without, I think, really taking the time to grieve the loss of kind of her entire childhood. I think it's all become tainted. And she's just pushing on here and pushing on. And I think because of that, because she is ignoring her hurt and her trauma, she's kind of making some not great decisions. She's trying to find a moral compass that is evading her. And she now has landed herself in a place where she's dealing with something probably a lot of us have dealt with in Fallout before: addiction. Of course, not of her own choosing. She put herself in a position where she marched into a dangerous place and got herself put up on a cross. And after being saved by the Ghoul takes her to NCR, where she is basically given an IV of Buff Out, which is put into her, and now upon waking up after 2 days of recovery, she finds that she's got an itch that she needs to scratch. I love this weird turn for Lucy. And I think it really works because you have Lucy kind of coming downward morally, Maximus, I think, heading up. And then we just have the ghoul, who, when I was discussing this with my friend, I was saying the ghoul is cool too, because the ghoul is basically our just flatline here. There's not a ton of growth happening with the ghoul because most of what has happened with Coop is in the past. So his character arcs have already happened and we're already at kind of his max character status. I think the ghoul is an interesting character because I think of him as like the character that you become when you are at the end of your questing, when you have completed the main story and now you're just going around maybe doing a few side quests, but you've done a lot of side quests. You can basically survive anything in the wasteland. However, you will still get messed up by fights, but you can make it out. As we saw with the Rad Scorpion and how he recovered from that and came back last episode. Ugh. So this has been a really amazing journey because episode 3 I thought was the best episode of Fallout I've seen so far. I just feel like the pacing is all there and the momentum of the story is all there. And I thought episode 1 and 2 were great, don't get me wrong, but I think the thing with episode 1 and 2 in comparison to episode 3 and 4 is that they're more setting up everything that is going to be coming back this season. They are setting up the building blocks for our story and some of the foundation and some of the important characters and bits of lore that are going to be interwoven back in as we progress. And now we're here with our main characters and we're actually going on the quests. We're actually continuing that story. And so these last few episodes have just felt like no time is passing when I watch them. I get completely lost in the episode and just have a great time. And yeah, it makes me want to play Fallout. I love that about this story. I know some people have been talking about how it is a waste of Fallout Season 2 for Bethesda that they haven't put out an announcement for the new Fallout game yet during this season and aren't using the Fallout show to promote a new Fallout game. However, I am just enjoying the ride, and I think what the show is probably doing for Bethesda is helping to get the word out about this game for people that might not know, or for people that, maybe aren't normally gamers, but this is a show that might get them into it. This might get them into the game and then they give it a try. And like I said, it is an accurate representation of what it feels like to be in the Fallout world, to be in the games. And I love how they showcase all these little mechanics and these weapons and these characters and just the world building in the story of the show. It's so smartly done. That's all I have for this one, friends. I'll see you in the next one. And until then, as always, stay nerdy. Bye! And if you missed my previous Fallout Episode 3 review, you can check that out here. And if you've missed any of my previous Fallout Season 2 reviews, you can check that out here.